The Caitlin Clark injury situation is officially a mess because not only is there not more clarity, there's more confusion about what her timeline could be. And that's coming on the heels of it seeming to be pretty clear when Clark would return to the court, or about when she would return to the court. It was said on the ESPN broadcast on August 12th that Stephanie White hoped Clark would be back in practice this week. Open portion of practice, Clark is not seen. And Stephanie White afterwards said it's status quo until Clark is back at practice.
It seems Stephanie White and the Indiana Fever organization may have tried to pull off one of the most questionable cover-ups the WNBA has ever seen. The team downplayed Caitlin Clark's injury, acting as if nothing unusual had happened, hoping fans wouldn't dig deeper. But of course, supporters caught on quickly. They've pulled together receipts, timelines, and video clips that challenge the official explanation. What was originally framed as a simple accident during training is now raising serious doubts, with many wondering if the team has been less than honest. And when a franchise misleads its own fan base, the very people paying for tickets, watching games, and buying merchandise, it doesn't just damage trust. It opens the door to potential scrutiny for misleading business practices.
It's getting crazy. It's getting spooky real fast. Very fast. I told y'all, people have had enough. All of y'all in the Indiana Fever organization who have been lying about this girl injury, not being transparent, and all these things that the fans are feeling, the fans are speaking back. They do not appreciate it. They feel scammed, they feel lied to, and they feel used.
This isn't just a minor PR hiccup. It's a full-on credibility crisis. Stephanie White went on live television, smiled for the cameras, and delivered a polished statement about Caitlin Clark's recovery schedule. The catch? The timeline doesn't line up. And when details don't match, fans aren't going to let it slide. In 2025, digital receipts never disappear, and supporters are quick to call out inconsistencies. So the real question is, can fans still rely on the Fever's transparency when it comes to injury updates? Share your thoughts in the comments.
Urge DOJ and FTC to investigate WNBA's misleading practices. Wow. So we are here now. And what's crazy about all of this is that, guys, this is I'm not going to come on here and say that they're going to lose, because if there was an investigation going into this team, they're not going to lose this investigation. Oh, they're going to win. Whoever is representing Caitlin is going to win.
Let's roll things back. Caitlin Clark first suffered a groin issue in mid-July after a reckless collision with JCS Sheldon. At the time, the team labeled it a day-to-day situation, with hopes of gradually increasing her practice load and aiming for a late August return. Pretty standard on paper. But as that target date approached, a new twist appeared out of nowhere. The official explanation? Clark allegedly sustained another injury during a workout on August 7th. It sounded clean and convenient for PR purposes. The snag? Fans dug up video from that very day showing Clark casually walking around Phoenix, moving fine, relaxed, and looking anything but injured. That's where the story starts to feel off.
Well, what changed? Right? I know there's never been a direct timeline, but all the signs seem to point in the direction of Clark returning soon. Even Natasha Howard saying, "See you soon, CC." Now it's like, wait and see. And there's further information coming out that Clark suffered a bit of an ankle injury in the midst of her recovery process. Did that hinder her return? One reporter saying yes, another reporter is saying no. Bottom line is, we need to know a little bit more. We don't need Caitlin Clark's in-depth medical report, but it's fair for fans to wonder if the Fever and the league's biggest star is going to return to the floor this season, or what the chances are. And she's been out of action for 5 weeks, so it's not as if some patience hasn't been expressed.
Instead of acknowledging that the timeline didn't hold up, White and the PR team doubled down. That's when the situation shifted from messy to downright insulting. Reporters covering the Fever, whose job should be sticking to facts, went on air chuckling as they repeated the official unlucky workout narrative. This wasn't nervous laughter. It was genuine amusement, as if sidelining the league's biggest star was some kind of punchline. Let that sink in. The most marketable player in women's basketball goes down. League ratings suffer in her absence, and the media acts like it's all a comedy routine. Fans weren't just puzzled by the coverage, they were outraged.
The Indiana Fever's got $1 billion entity on their team. $1 billion damn dollars. And they're a bunch of clowns, a bunch of bozos. You guys look completely incompetent and unprofessional. The way this has been handled, oh, it's a joke. It's a joke. Look, they can't say anything about conspiracy theories. You're complicit in creating them because you won't be open and you won't be honest.
This is why the Fever's credibility is in free fall. Spinning a story is one thing. Sports teams do it all the time. But outright misleading your own supporters while smiling through it? That's not just dishonest. It's flat out disrespectful. It sends a message to fans. We think you'll swallow whatever we tell you. Reality check. People aren't that naive. Screenshots, clips, and timelines don't disappear online. Supporters are connecting the dots in real time, and the more they dig, the worse the situation looks.
You got this video right here that a lot of you have already seen. I just saw it in the last couple of days of Caitlin getting stepped on by a coach right there on the left.
Stepped on by the coach, and I think she's going to be all right based upon the grin on her face. But
the left foot, the one that's got the issue, she got stepped on. And today, I'm not even going to say Indiana Fever fans, Caitlin Clark fans are crashing out at a different level. And I don't blame them. I don't.
And here's the part that really raises eyebrows. They seem to be covering up the actual incident. Fans still remember that notorious game when assistant coach Bayern January stepped on Caitlin Clark's foot. That moment didn't disappear. It just got buried under this convenient workout mishap storyline. So, which is it? Did Clark really get hurt during a casual training session, or was the injury caused by the very staff that's supposed to keep her safe? If it's the latter, that's not misfortune. It's negligence. And when negligence is paired with misleading public statements, you're not just dealing with bad optics, you're dealing with a kind of issue that attracts league scrutiny, sponsor concerns, and watchdog attention. Meanwhile, Clark herself seems caught in the middle of this PR storm. Every time she addresses her recovery, the lines sound prepackaged. Working hard, feeling good, just a little unlucky. But longtime fans know her voice, and that doesn't sound authentic. It sounds scripted. Scripted messaging has a purpose: to protect the franchise, calm the fan base, and prevent ticket holders from demanding refunds. The timing feels too polished, the language too controlled, and the sincerity completely absent.
This practice isn't just disappointing, it's deceptive. Fans invested their hard-earned money in tickets, streaming packages, and merchandise under the belief that they were being given honest information. Instead, it appears coordinated efforts were made between the league and team communications to present a facade of hopeful updates, masking the true status of a beloved player's injury.
And this is where fans feel flat out disrespected. Clark isn't a wide-eyed rookie anymore. She's in her second year, the most important figure keeping the league thriving, and she's already proven her worth by filling arenas across the country. Yet the Fever are treating her like a disposable piece on a chessboard, moved around with misleading statements. Imagine if this happened in the NBA, if a coach injured LeBron James or Steph Curry and then tried to spin it. The backlash would be immediate. Investigations, firings, wall-to-wall ESPN coverage. In the WNBA, crickets. Instead, reporters laugh along, sounding more like team interns than independent journalists. The result? The Fever's credibility isn't just damaged, it's in ruins. And at the center of it is Stephanie White. This goes beyond bad PR. It edges into potential fraud. Selling tickets, hyping broadcasts, and pushing merchandise around Clark while knowingly misrepresenting her health isn't just dishonest. It's deceptive consumer practice. That's the kind of thing that brings in lawyers, rattles sponsors, and sparks the kind of investigations the Fever desperately want to avoid.
Goes on to say fans felt excited when they purchased tickets, believing they'll watch Caitlin Clark shine on the court. However, that excitement turned to disappointment as misleading injuries kept fueling false hopes that she had played the WNBA. And hold up. Damn, is they finna get her for line? Is they finna get her for line to the fans? Oh my God. Hold up. The WNBA and Indiana Fever Indiana Fever have repeatedly engaged in what seems to be a strategic ploy to drive ticket sale and merchandise sales by suggesting that Caitlin Clark's return was on the horizon. Holy-ish right now, bro. Oh my God, it's about to get red.
And then there's the boldest theory circulating right now. Maybe this wasn't simple incompetence. Maybe it was deliberate. Consider the timeline. Clark entered the league like a tidal wave, breaking records and drawing in an entirely new audience. Almost immediately, the narrative shifted. She's too thin. She needs more muscle. She's not physically ready. The response? She's pushed into rapid strength building. But instead of protecting her, the accelerated workload leaves her body vulnerable, and by year 2, she's dealing with a string of injuries. That doesn't look like bad luck. It looks like mismanagement. And when you follow the trail, every sign points straight back to White and her staff.
I feel like they were lying about her injury as far as like the severity of it. I think it's a really bad injury. I think when they rushed her back that one time, I think she hurt it even more and it pushed the timeline back.
Trying to come back and come back quickly. She needs to make sure that she's 100%. Her competitor wants to play. We're prioritizing her long-term health and wellness is the most important thing.
As bad as it might sound, I think it might be like a season-ending level type of injury, and they're hoping to get in the playoffs and they can somehow get her during the playoffs.
Many fans are already saying Clark should ditch the Fever's medical team altogether and return to the Iowa doctors she knows and trusts. And honestly, who can blame them? If the front office is willing to blur the truth about when the injury happened, what else might they be hiding? Are they minimizing how serious it is? Are they preparing to push her back onto the court early just to keep ticket sales rolling? These aren't outlandish theories. They're fair questions when a franchise refuses to provide honest answers. The silence coming from the organization doesn't reassure anyone. It screams cover up. Stephanie White seemed to believe she could step up to a microphone, flash a smile, and sell this workout injury narrative as if fans wouldn't question it. But the more she repeats the script, the less believable it sounds. Each attempt to reinforce the story only chips away at her credibility and pulls the Fever deeper into controversy. Instead of shielding Caitlin Clark, White has unintentionally made her the focal point of a possible scandal and even an investigation.
And the craziest thing about this last groin injury with Caitlin Clark is how it's been covered. The day after she had the groin injury, she was listed as day-to-day. And then a couple weeks after that, then she was listed to being out indefinitely. Now, ESPN had August 12th as the circled return date for Caitlin Clark to get back onto the court. And just yesterday, she was listed as a game time decision for today's game against the Dallas Wings. And then after practice yesterday, Coach Stephanie White basically came out and said, like, no, Caitlin Clark hasn't even been practicing. So they changed it from a game time decision to her being out.
And Fever fans, they've had enough. They've watched Clark endure hard fouls, elbows to the body, and questionable officiating, and now they're seeing her mistreated by her own team. Picture being one of the most hyped women's basketball players in decades, filling arenas everywhere, breaking TV records, and then being misrepresented when you're injured. This isn't just poor management, it borders on malpractice. If the Fever continue down this path, it's not just PR fallout. They could face serious scrutiny. The implications go far beyond Indiana. Caitlin Clark isn't just another player. She is the league right now. She drives ticket sales, TV ratings, sponsorship deals, and mainstream media attention. Her presence fills arenas coast to coast. Her highlights dominate national broadcasts, and her name keeps sponsors investing. Remove Clark from the mix, and the impact is immediate. Lower attendance, plummeting ratings, and sponsors reconsidering their support. That's why Stephanie White's attempted cover-up isn't merely bad PR. It risks crossing into consumer fraud. Consider this. If fans are buying tickets expecting Clark to play when the team knows she won't, that's misleading advertising. It's not speculation. It's the kind of deceptive practice that can trigger legal investigations.
This has been all over the place, and I get it to a certain extent. The fans, the media does not need to know every little thing that's going on with Caitlin Clark's injuries, especially a star player like that. We will never know all the information, nor should we know all the information, and that's actually good for Caitlin. It protects her for when she does come back on the court. She can't be targeted. Teams can't use a certain injury or ailment against her if people don't really know what is going on. But the reporting of her timeline in general, there has been no rhyme or reason to what has been shared about it.
And let's be frank, the timing looks highly suspicious. Clark was on fire, lifting the fever out of obscurity and generating excitement across the league. Then, suddenly, she's sidelined with a vague and questionable injury timeline. The team's momentum grinds to a halt, the fever struggle, and all the hype fizzles out. Intentional or not, the effect is damaging. To make matters worse, White went on camera and pushed a scripted story, which only amplified the backlash.
WNBA, y'all have to figure it out. The people have had enough. I'm going to let you know exactly what I'm talking about. This thing is picking up steam, and it's a bad look. It's a bad look. It's a bad look, all because you guys refuse to be transparent about Caitlin Clark injuries and injuries around the league.
But this isn't just a single misstep. It's part of a larger pattern. Since Clark arrived in the league, she's faced disrespect at every turn. Referees letting fouls slide, commentators scrutinizing her more harshly than any other star, opponents taking cheap shots, and now her own coach adding deception into the mix. To fans, it can feel almost orchestrated, like the league is intimidated by her talent and trying to dim her spotlight. Yet the irony is clear. Every unfair play, every ignored foul, every misleading statement only strengthens her following, making her supporters louder, more loyal, and more determined to stand by her.
Look, anybody who saw this could have maybe thought something was up. Breanne January stepping on Caitlin Clark here. August 9th. Left ankle. That's where the bone bruise supposedly happened. On August 7th, which is what is being shared now. And, you know, some of these things you hear rumblings about, and you don't know exactly what's going on.
Still, it's important not to downplay the risk. Caitlin Clark is human, not a machine. Each mishandled injury, every rushed return, and every misleading media spin chips away at her career. That's the real nightmare. The league's biggest star being worn down before reaching her prime because her team failed to be honest and careful. And if that happens, the fallout won't just be severe. It could be historic. Stephanie White won't just face fan outrage. She could bear responsibility for harming the very player who drives the league.
Lawsuits. Fans, y'all, we might have a case here. We might have a case to sue not only the Indiana Fever, but the WNBA for misleading us, having us thinking Caitlin Clark was going to come back, because we all remember when Stephanie White was on ESPN, she stated Caitlin Clark was on her way to come back and practice and get ready to make a return of a lifetime to the Indiana Fever. Oh, yeah, she said that when around the 12th. Well, judging off your sources, if she got hurt around the 7th, you knew prior to you going to ESPN that Caitlin Clark wasn't coming back when you said she was going to come back. You're lying. You're lying and you're misleading, and it's looking real spooky. And I'm happy the fans is standing up.
And by lying, White has already guaranteed she'll face consequences. She didn't just obscure an injury. She lit a fuse. Fans are now scrutinizing every word, gathering receipts, and pointing out contradictions. Reporters beyond Indiana are taking notice, and once national outlets dig in, the story could explode. When that happens, the Fever won't only face angry fans. They could be looking at sponsors pulling out, intense media scrutiny, and even regulatory attention. Let's be clear, this isn't just poor optics. It could cross a legal line. Selling tickets, broadcasts, or merchandise tied to a superstar while knowingly misrepresenting her availability falls squarely into consumer fraud territory. Watchdog groups and regulators take this seriously. Once terms like fraud or false advertising make headlines, The Fever could be staring at fines, lawsuits, and sponsors demanding accountability. And the heartbreaking part? Caitlin Clark sees it all. She knows the timeline doesn't make sense. She knows the talking points feel scripted. But she's trapped, forced to smile and play along, because challenging her own coach mid-season could brand her as difficult. She's being silenced in her own story, and that may be the most tragic element of all.